pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have roll call, please?
McNutt.
Here.
Duff.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
Termini.
Here.
Hickey.
Here.
Claiborne. Here. O'Brien.
Motion that we excuse O'Brien.
Second. We have a motion to excuse in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Bill. I don't believe we have any additions.
None tonight, thank you.
And number 5, approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Motion to approve is presented in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approval. Correspondences and information. We have one notice regarding our annual retirement reports, and it's a good one. It meets the definition of, it's not underfunded, so we're all good. Nice. DTE, there's a couple of public meetings. One is about rates, which is not a surprise. And so, the other one's about reconciling their infrastructure. And then National Military Appreciation Month with Oakland County Parks. So there's some benefits there for our veterans for the month. And that's all.
Motion to receive and file as presented.
Second.
Motion to receive and file in a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, number 7, first call to public. It's the opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items.
Motion to open.
We have a motion to open in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, first call to public's open.
Motion to close.
Got a motion to close.
Second.
In a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 8, consideration approving the following consent agenda.
Motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve as presented, and a second. Any discussion? No, we have a roll call, please.
Termini.
Yes.
Hickey.
Yes.
Claiborne.
Yes.
O'Brien. McNutt.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
All right. I don't believe we have any board appointments.
None tonight, thank you.
Leads us to item number 10, presentations, 2025 Citizen of the Year. And that's going to be presented by somebody who knows her well, Mark Jeremy.
So, yeah, let's clap for me. Not for the winner. Not for the winner. It's my great pleasure to get to recognize Bonnie Beach as our 2025 Citizen of the Year. I've worked with Bonnie on the Veterans Memorial Subcommittee since 2020, 2021. She's been very active in that and contributed so many ways to that committee and to making our memorial what it is today, frankly, the nicest one in Oakland County, at least. She's also serving now on the Beautification Committee and doing everything she can to make the village look prettier and prettier every day. She has been involved in committees and on boards in the village since, frankly, before I was alive. So that's quite the record. I know. I'm just doing what I can. Let's just say I'm really young, and we can go that route. But yeah, so it is my great pleasure to get to present Bonnie Beach as the 2025 Citizen of the Year of the Village of Wolverine Lake.
Thank you, everybody. I don't know what to say except thank you.
We should be saying thank you to you.
Yeah, we should be saying thank you to you.
Thanking you.
Great community.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, neighbor, congratulations. Bonnie, neighbor, congratulations. And you're official too, and if you look, there's a plaque on the wall in the back of the room, and you are actually now officially recognized as the Citizen of the Year for 2025. So, yeah.
Well, that's what makes the village what it is. So thank you very much for everything you've done, making this a great place, and we all appreciate it, and you. Right, I think we're at B. Brett, quick, priority waste.
Thank you for having me after that. Hopefully I can give some good news,
So do we.
but holy moly. All right. So I did do, obviously I was here, last quarter? So February, yep. So I did get an updated report from February up until May 12th. So what I did want to say is that everything has been getting a lot better based on everything that I've seen before. There were a couple of days where I did notice that there were some missed pickups reported. One of them was when we actually had a delay in service, which Wolverine Lake was notified of, and it looks like we got 19 calls on April 28th about missed pickups, but everything was recovered literally April 28th in the morning. A couple of them I did clarify with our LDC on February 3rd. We got some missed pickups. We were actually running late. They did get picked up on the day. Unfortunately, obviously, as would be expected, the residents jumped the gun, as would be expected, because I don't think we picked them up until roughly about 6 p.m. And I think you guys are used to somewhere around 10 to 12 to be picked up. So we could say it's jumping the gun, but at the same time, obviously, they have every right to report that, considering they don't know that news. But overall, it seems like everything has gotten a lot better. You guys can say no or yes, but that's how I feel. Now, one thing I do want to address, which I addressed at Commerce Township last night. Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Last night, we did have a new acquisition, or a new interest company taking control. They're called TPG. They're a $300 billion company. They're investing $150 million into Priority Waste. This has no change within the contract. It has zero change with anything that has to do with Wolverine Lake and Priority Waste. Priority Waste is still the LLC that controls it, but I want to make sure everyone was aware of that. There's no assignment that needs to be made. There's nothing. It's just a controlling interest change. And it is definitely a positive for us because we are getting more money in. And you heard this last night, how I explain this so my lawyers don't get mad at me. We were able to pay off debts that none of the representatives were aware of that we had. Which is part of the reason why the CEO was let go. So we were able to actually get 13,000 carts delivered last week. So in our cart delivery delay, we're actually able to catch up now. So hopefully that's helpful. I don't really know how else to explain it based on what the lawyer would allow me to explain it. So I'm open to any questions. You said that you would have some, but.
You talked about having a smaller vehicle for the island.
Yep.
Is that happened? Or
Yes,
is
yeah.
that-
Yeah, it's a mini packer truck because we can't put a full garbage truck down there. So it's a mini packer truck that goes down there.
Yeah, so it was purchased? A new one was purchased?
So we had one already that was going somewhere else, but we were able to reroute it so it would go to Wolverine Lake. Is it Oak?
Oak Island.
Yeah, Oak Island, yep.
So I have a question about when you miss a pickup, what's the procedure? So, people submit what is the expected turnaround to getting those missed pickups once they're reported?
Once they're reported, Stanley, we're looking at a 24-hour turnaround. So it's a 24-hour response. It could potentially get up to 48 hours to turn around depending on what the routes are for that day. But Stanley, from what I've seen based on looking at your portal, it seems like 24 hours has been pretty standard in the turnaround.
So is it generally a truck is diverted from its regular route to pick up? Okay, so there's no designated
No.
pickups?
So standardly, sorry, off the top of my head, what's the pickup day? I can't remember. Monday. So standardly, we will pull someone from Sylvan Lake, who is Tuesday, I believe, Wolverine Lake, Orchard Lake, or we'll pull people from them and then bring them over. West Bloomfield, Stanley, where we're going to be pulling them from, or Commerce, just because they're 5 day a week. So we'll pull them, we'll have them, and we'll pull them and come pick them up.
Okay. Just because I know last week there was several people who had their garbage missed and it wasn't picked up till Thursday evening. So,
Okay. I'm going to make note of that because that's something that was not made aware of me.
okay. And then
So,
in a personal experience, I had in early April, my yard waste was missed. I reported it that night. I got an email on Wednesday or Thursday saying it had been picked up when it had not been picked up. So then I emailed the address that was listed in the email saying, if you have any questions, let us know. I emailed that number or that account and got no response.
okay.
So I know you're going to miss pickups. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's just, if we're, customer care and response times are
Yeah.
really important to that.
Were you sending any video or anything showing anything?
I did I sent a photo
No,
to,
were
oh,
you
I was
sent
not.
from us?
Nothing, no. It just,
Oh,
it was picked
okay.
up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I need to make sure that they do that. I'll get with the LDC on that one and make sure that they're aware that, video was not sent.
And then, just because it was in the news and everything, the whole incident where the truck was spitting out garbage juice, for a lack of a better term, just what's the, what is the expected procedure for something like that, for them to dispose of that?
So we did send out a street sweeping company to come clean it up. That's not my area, just so you know, but this is just what I was told. So we sent a street sweeping company out to go pick it up. Obviously, that is extremely unacceptable, and and I've been in this industry for 10 years. I've never seen that happen before. But the driver was written up, and I'm not sure about the employment portion of it, just because I'm not privy to that information. But we did send a street sweeping company out, I believe, the next day to clean it.
Okay, yeah, just, it was gross.
You are not the first
Right.
person who has brought that up to me. I can tell you that much.
Thank you.
Did you recently meet with our DPW leader about the leaf pickup for the fall?
Yep.
How did that meeting go?
David and the DPW and James Taylor, who's a GM, and we all met. One thing that we did come up with a couple of solutions, but I think we kind of decided maybe we would speak about it more during a work session rather than trying to get all this stuff situated today with all the different options. Am I wrong on that?
Basically, yeah, what Andy and I did is we asked Brett and JT to go back and get some more information from us and check with their management and see what options were viable from their standpoint and what options weren't. And once we have more information, then we'll bring that information and all the options back to council and get council's input as to, how we want to approach the pickup in the fall.
I think we view like 3 different options, so I just want to make sure that obviously we present the best option that people can agree to.
So, work in progress, I guess. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Well, I'll see you guys in the next quarter, right?
Not before, yeah.
Well, I'll see you before.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
This is 10C, the Echo Harvester, and the Water Management Board Chairperson Ryan Martini.
All right. I gave you guys a printout. I'm not sure if everybody had an opportunity to read it or not, but if not, I'm also going to cover it on these slides. So, okay,
Ryan,
I'm
just so
Ryan Martini.
everybody has a copy of it at the
So
table.
I'll go through. So Ryan Martini, Chair of the Water Management Board. We had sent something to council regarding approval for some funds to help us work with the permit for this eco harvester. So there was a request to have us come in and discuss what it is we're even trying to do, which makes sense since we're trying to spend some money here. So I'm going to give some background on what we've been working on with this eco harvester, some of the benefits, risks, and why we think we want to move forward with it. And then from there, we could talk about approval on what we need to do for permits and go from there. So I'll start. So eco harvester, picture's worth 1,000 words, just so you can see what it looks like. It's a small harvester, right? Single man operation, significantly smaller than the harvester that we have today. It's made it's sold through this company called Weeder's Digest. There's a bunch of information that I'll go through on the next slides, but the main thing that you need to know is it's smaller, and the whole selling point of it is that it has this barrel on the front, so it doesn't cut weeds like a lawnmower. It pulls the weeds, and it's able to pull the weeds out from the roots, right? So there's some advantages to that harvesting method that I'll go through in a minute. But it is significantly smaller, so that comes with advantages and disadvantages. So I'll just start. Usually people start with the pros. I'm going to start with the cons. So it is a smaller harvester, okay, which is both good and bad. So obviously with it being a smaller harvester, it's got lower capacity, right? So it can't carry as much of the weeds, right? Which also will lead to more time harvesting, so the labor is going to be higher. And it's going to take more time to unload it, right? Because you're going to be picking up essentially equivalent amounts of weeds. So there's more trips to the shoreline for unloading it. The technology I would consider emerging. The company that sells it has sold around 110 of them. So they are being used. There's not any in Michigan, which we'll get to in a minute. But there's a bunch of places that do have them, but I wouldn't say that it's completely proven technology that a bunch of people are using. So that's a con. We have a harvester, right? So what are we even talking about, right? This is added a harvester and added cost, so this is a con. What I have written here is that there's lots of claims, right? So the people trying to sell this thing, they have a lot of claims on what it can do, right? You get this thing, you don't have to use any more chemicals, right? Or your weeds will never grow back, right? So there's a lot of claims. Very hard to decipher what's truth versus advertising, so that's a risk here. And permitting, which is what we're going to talk about here, right? So there's some work that has to be done to get a permit to even operate this thing with conversations with Eagle. So I got the bad stuff out of the way. Okay, pros, it's smaller, right? Same thing, it's a good thing, right? It can go down to like 12 inches of water, which is great, which means it can operate in the canals, which our harvester can't today. It could get under the bridge, which our harvester can't today. We did used to have a smaller harvester, like many of you know. So it is good to have a smaller one. It gets some more residents, which is great. Can also get closer to the shoreline, right? Closer to docks if we choose to do that. It's very maneuverable. So small, bad on some sides, good on others. It pulls the weeds instead of cutting them. So this is the main thing, right? So this is what we'll go through. I'll go through kind of the business case here of it. So the promise is chemical use reduction, right? That's what they sell it as, is that you pull the weeds, it pulls it out from the roots. The weeds either don't come back or grow back slower because you're not trimming them like a lawnmower. And if they don't come back, you're using less chemicals, right? So they will pitch it as in you can drastically reduce your chemicals. But like I said, it's emerging technology, right? We don't know if you can really reduce the chemicals that much. It's an unknown, but it's one of the promises of the harvester. And pro being that it's slower weed regrowth, right? If you pull the weeds out from the bottom, it might not come back at all, or it's going to take them significantly longer. And I had some conversations with people who operate these things that I'll get to in a minute on their anecdotal evidence of this. So in going through this, right, as I was sitting, it's hard to understand what's true and what's not, and what's it really going to cost. Is it really going to be a benefit? How much risk there is? Because there's a lot of claims. So I'm going to go through kind of the analysis I went through on whether I was convinced that this was something worth investing in. So this might be a little bit boring, but it's going to be worth it at the end, I think. So what I did was look at our current harvester, right? So I'm looking at usage of the harvester, so I'll kind of go through this, right? So we operate on average over the last couple of years, 250 hours a year running the harvester. So this is relative to the labor costs. You can think 250 hours a year we're doing. The current harvester is 9 feet wide. That's the cutting blade. So it can cut a lot more. It can cover a lot more space because it's 9 feet wide versus this harvester, which is 5 feet wide. It has a capacity of 800 cubic feet, our current one, which means as you're harvesting weeds, you don't have to unload them as often, right? You pick it up, you could go longer, less time unloading, less time wasted driving to and from the shore. We pulled 120 loads per year on average over the last 4 years. I averaged the data using the reports over the last 4 years. So our cubic feet, we're pulling about 96,000 cubic feet of material out of the lake every year, which is basically, if you look at the number of hours, we operate roughly 436 cubic feet per hour. Time spent unloading over the last couple of years, the average is 30 hours of all the operational time that we actually run the harvester is unloading. That's our estimate. And then time spent harvesting is roughly 220 hours, right? So of the 250, 30 of it is kind of in the unloading phase. So this is kind of like baseline data from the current harvester. So there's things that this new harvester promises us that are kind of unknowns. So some of those unknowns I've had highlighted in blue. So one thing is, the unload time, right? How much time are we going to spend unloading this thing, right? If you're driving to and from the shore all the time to unload it because it's smaller, then there's a higher percentage of your usage is going to be on unloading. How quickly are the weeds going to regrow, right? Are they going to be gone permanently? Or are we going to be able to reduce 30% of the weeds? The volume of weeds that we will have out there, it's kind of an unknown. How much are we really going to be able to save on chemical treatment is an unknown, right? We have the people that sell it, they'll claim you could get rid of all your chemicals, right? Probably highly unlikely, right? There's going to be some understanding of that. And then just the overall efficiency and how fast it can operate. So there's all these unknowns, so I run what's called a Monte Carlo analysis. I'll explain that in a second. So it's analyzing the financial outcomes bounded by some of the unknowns, right? So there's things that were unknown. The unload time, right? So you basically do this analysis and you put in what you expect, 90% confidence interval. So you say, I'm 90% sure it's going to take us between 15 and 30 minutes to unload this thing. Throw a dart. Harvest rate, cubic feet per hour. 90% sure, it's going to do, it's going to be 35 or 45% of what our current harvester is. It's throwing a dart. Chemical reduction, 90% sure it's going to be a 10 to 20% reduction. Very conservative. They'll tell us it's a 100% reduction, right? But maybe 10 or 20% if we can just get 10 or 20% reduction in chemicals. And weed regrowth, right? 90% of the weeds will reduce by 20 to 40%, right? So trust me, when you do all the math, you can run all these different scenarios, randomize the numbers between these, right? Run like 500 calculations. If you get this type of yield, if you're certain within these things, you get just 10 to 20% chemical reduction, of 500 calculations, 87% of them yield a positive result, meaning that it's cheaper to operate, okay? Average cost reduction, $2,800 a year is what it comes out to. So despite all of the unknowns, if we even have marginal benefit from this thing, it might take longer to unload. We might have to increase our unload time. We might just save 10% of the chemicals. The weed regrowth might be a little bit slower. It's not what they promise. This is all pretty conservative compared to the claims of this thing. It pretty much across the board has convinced me that there is, a really good probability this thing's not going to cost us more to operate. Okay, so this is like kind of overall benefit of the device. This is kind of what that distribution looks like of all the different outcomes you could have. 87% of them is below our current harvester operating cost. If you increased the chemical reduction from 10% and you allow it to go, say, 30 to 40%, then you could be saving up to $17,000 a year in operational costs through chemical reduction, right? So that's only if it saves 30 to 40% of the chemicals. So even if it just saves 10%, it's worth it. If it saves 30 to 40%, now you're saving significant money every year. You're saving $17,000, $18,000, $19,000 a year through the operation. So this is somewhat boring, I understand that, but it was at least wrapping my head around the financial aspect of this thing. So I'll just go to the next thing real quick. So the other thing that we did is we talked to other people. Okay, so I talked to this lady. She's the district manager for the Benton Conservation District in Washington. They manage a river system in Washington, and they own 2 of these things. And the main reason why they purchased it is because they need to clear like 12 inches of water, right? They can't go with a larger harvester. And I talked to her for about 45 minutes today. She basically has nothing but good things to say. The problems that she says, I'll give you two examples. This device is sold with both a cutting head and the wheel that harvests. They weren't sure if it was really going to work or not, so they bought both, right? So they bought the cutting head and they bought the wheel that pulls it from the roots. They basically ran the cutting head for like 2 months and threw it away. Like it just is not as good. She said they harvest areas where if they ran it, they had an area where they ran it really aggressively. And that was in 2020, and they haven't had weeds grow back there yet, right? So she has seen significant improvements through this harvesting method in that environment with those weeds, et cetera. So ours is a little bit different, but they've had like 4 years of no weeds in some areas that they've done this on the lake. And now they exclusively use this, and then they ordered a second one because the first one was pretty effective. From the downsides, things that she mentioned, the frame is aluminum. So they ran into a rock and it bent because it's not a steel frame, it's a lightweight machine. So there's some, we don't have a lot of rocks in Wolverine Lake, much more muck than rocks. But there is a little bit, you got to be careful operating it, right? It's not this huge steel machine that we have. And then their water has a particularly high pH that has rusted some components. After 6 years, she's got to replace a couple of components because of the water conditions that they have. But she was like, had tons of information, super knowledgeable, very much a fan of it, thought very highly of its capabilities. So when we look at all this, at the water board, we're always looking at ways to reduce chemicals. How do you operate more effectively? How do you save some money? How can we manage the weeds, use less chemicals? So this was an option that, at least through the process, I convinced myself was worth looking into, right? It feels like there's not many, if we get any benefit at all from chemical reduction, it basically makes it overcomes all of the concerns on it being smaller and more operating time, because the money saved outweighs that operating cost significantly when you start reducing chemicals. It has the advantage of getting under the bridge, has the advantage of getting into the canals, which we can't do today. So we're thinking that this is something we want to look more into, okay? So now the challenge is our initial conversations with Eagle suggest that permitting might be a problem because the way that it harvests, they believe that it could have an impact of the ground, the bottom of the lake, which then they generally have a problem with, a generic problem with, but nobody's operating one of these in Michigan, right? And if you discuss with anybody that actually operates these harvesters, it doesn't actually disturb the ground, right? It doesn't have that problem. But that's kind of where we're at right now with Eagle, where it's going to need some kind of careful navigation with Eagle to be able to get the permits to operate the thing. And we're looking for help for that, right? On the board, we don't feel like we're equipped to be able to have those conversations and do that with Eagle. So we were looking to get approval to take our current lake contracting company, Progressive. They've offered to help us with this, but there's a fee associated with that. So that was the request, was to get I think it was $2,000. I can't remember exactly what it is. You remember what it was? $2,000,
$3,600.
$3,600. So they are willing to help us go through the process of gathering the information, dealing with the permits, kind of carefully navigating this thing with Eagle to be able to have us proceed and understand if this is the right thing to do, if we want to be able to do it. If we say, hey, we're not even willing to do that, don't even worry about it. If there's no future of this thing, then we could just kill it. But from what we've done so far on the water board, we feel like there's a lot of advantages there. We feel like the risk is low from an operating cost. Of course, there's an upfront cost of purchasing the thing, which I put in the notes here. I think they're around $103,000. Our current harvester was quite a bit more than that. There are markets by which you could sell a harvester. There's a world where we could have 2 harvesters. I think what to do with the existing harvester would kind of be dependent on how successful this one is, right? I could see a world where if we wanted to pursue this, we could operate 2, right? See which one we actually want and then sell one. I could see that as a path forward. I could see one where we could have 2 harvesters forever. But at least I think we did the due diligence on understanding a different solution to the chemicals. And we think this is a viable option, and we're looking for approval to get help with the permitting process. So that's kind of where we're at. I can take a bunch of questions. I'm sure you guys have a bunch. I think that's it.
What is the maximum depth cutting or pulling?
So I think it could go down like 8. Do you know how far down it goes? It could go as little as 12 inches. It can go into very shallow water.
Yeah, I'm just curious in terms of what the maximum depth of the actual pulling is.
I think it's 4 feet.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, it's the thing is and most of the, obviously, weed growth is closer to the shorelines, right, in shallow water anyway. And it's not like if it can't get to the root, it can't harvest. So like even the lady was talking, as it's running, like it'll get a bulk of them from the roots, right? But not everything. Sometimes they'll break off and stuff like this. But it is largely pulling the weeds up. Through this roller, it'll pull up from the root. Other stuff in here, just for awareness, we pay around $70,000 a year in chemicals. Like I said, savings is going to be somewhere between $2,000. I'd say call it $3,000 a year in operating costs if we were just running this harvester based on any kind of yield, 10 to 20% of chemical reduction. $103,000, I think, is the current price of it, not including a trailer. We would have to have probably more labor in operating it, but that labor cost is immediately resolved with a reduction in chemicals if we see at least like a 10% reduction in chemical usage. And then everything else in here is kind of background of what I just talked through for the permits.
Is there anything that they had in terms of studies that show any impact to fish beds and things like that? Because again,
no.
lots of different fish varieties bed in shallow areas, specifically in the roots.
Yeah, I mean, we harvest those areas anyway.
Yeah, but we don't pull the roots out.
Yeah. We could go follow up on that. Not that I am aware of. And like I said, it's a little bit difficult because you're talking to 2 people. I talked to somebody who's like in a conservation program that uses it and thinks it's the greatest thing ever. And then you talk to the person that's selling it. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's not going to tell you there's a problem, right? Our company, Progressive, doesn't have any experience with it.
Okay.
So I think part of this permitting process and talking with Eagle would be working through all of that, because certainly if it's an issue where it's going to like disturb fish and wildlife, Eagle's not going to issue a permit, right? So I think going through those conversations and having those impact assessments is part of what this process is going to be and why we need somebody like Progressive on board with us to help us accumulate some of that information.
Ryan, any of the conversations you had with the woman in Washington or anybody else that has one of these, what about service? I mean, if they don't sell them locally around here.
Yeah.
Because to be perfectly honest, that's an issue we've had with our existing harvester, is finding someone around this area who's qualified to do work on that kind of equipment.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that would, we got to take that as a note to go follow up. I can call her. I mean, she basically said that they're replacing parts. She made it sound like it was them, as in like their team, not like an outside service place, but I didn't ask that specifically on how she's getting it serviced. But it is a significantly smaller thing. It's like you put it on a trailer and tow it behind a half ton, right? It's not like this thing where you got to basically close the road to move it anyway.
Sure.
It's something that is a portable, small device. But we can follow that up. That's something we can follow up on.
Do you know where they're made?
Here in Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Minnesota, yeah, all the same.
It's not that far.
Yeah, no, the company's here.
Not China.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
In the old records,
Jerry, could you step up to the microphone, please? So Rob in the back can hear
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
Yeah.
boy, now I know why you're the chairman. Oh, my God. I'm Jerry Schloff, 1132 Lakeview. I'm on the board. I went through, read old records. If you want to have a good time, read the old meeting records for 10 years. The thing that comes up most frequently relative to this is people object to the weeds and they object to chemicals. And one of the big advantages of this is it'll reduce the chemicals. People don't like the chemicals. That's my statement. Okay.
Let me just say, they advertise the minimum depth that can go in regularly. I got to see if I can find the maximum depth. So we got to take notes on figuring out servicing.
They don't have, they don't have to go all the way down to the bottom. If they can get the weeds,
Yeah.
they still pull them up. They don't have to go right down the root.
Yeah. So the way I look at it today, today it's not a coming in saying, hey, let's spend $102,000 on a harvester, right? This is kind of, it took me a while to get to a point where I felt like it was worth pursuing. I kind of had to prove it to myself a little bit. I feel like I'm there. I feel like we should go answer some of these questions, see if we can get Eagle to approve the usage of it. They're going to have a pile of questions and work through that process. So that's kind of why we had made that recommendation to council and why we came in today. So if we think that there is a possibility that we would pursue this, then I think that's the logical next step. If we think there's no possibility we'd pursue the end goal, then obviously it doesn't make sense to go through with the permitting. But from our perspective, we thought it was the appropriate next step. And in the grand scheme of things, $3,000 when you're talking about a $110,000 machine is probably money well spent to understand and work through the details in a coordinated fashion with Progressive.
One thing I would point out or add to what Ryan and Jerry have said is, Jerry and I tried directly reaching out to Eagle by email and otherwise to try to see if we could get an informal meeting with them or get some indication from them as to whether or not this is something that they would consider issuing a permit for or not. And we basically said, well, let's see if we can set up a meeting, and it never really went any further than that, despite numerous requests from both of us. So, and to be perfectly honest, I expressed some frustration to Paul Hausler one time about not being able to get a response, and I said, I'm getting the impression that really we need to go ahead and file an application with Eagle in order to be able to get any kind of definitive response from them. And he said their experience has been exactly the same. So from what I understand about the process, we'd be submitting an application, but you can also request something that's called a pre-application conference. And I don't know, Michelle, if you've had any experience or any knowledge of that, but it's kind of a preliminary request to filing the actual application. It's significantly less expensive, just kind of an informal. We would end up having to ride over probably to their offices in Warren and meet with them. And
they also do Teams calls.
Yeah, okay, or a remote call, and explain to them what it is that we're thinking about doing, and at least get some input or some feedback from them. I doubt if we would get a definitive answer from them at that point in time, but we could at least get the ball rolling, so to speak, and then based upon what kind of a response we got as a result of the pre-application meeting, then I suppose we could make a decision as to whether or not we thought it was worth it to go ahead and file the actual application. But I think part of it is probably going to be part of the basis for Progressive's quote is because they're going to have to learn more about what's involved here too, to be able to talk to the people at Eagle, because as Ryan has said, nobody in-house has the expertise that Progressive does.
Yeah, and I
So-
also think that, like, there's gonna be some legwork. They're probably gonna need to say, hey, it's not been in Michigan before. It's in Wisconsin, and it's in Washington, it's in all these other states, and it got approved by those equivalent Department of Natural Resources, and there might be paperwork and paper trails you can dig up as evidence as to why this thing could be acceptable to, like, offset it. It's that process I think we need help with, right?
I would definitely say that pre-application meeting would be very wise. I think the biggest issue that Eagle is going to actually have is exactly what Bill brought up, was the concerns of disrupting the life that is in the soils around the root structure. That is very precious to Eagle. They have very strong requirements with that. So yes, I think that would be very wise.
So Progressive is, of course, willing to do this. What has Paul or others there said about the merits of the machine?
Basically that he's got no experience with it.
So no opinion, but willing to, okay.
For a price.
Yeah, and then what is the cutting depth that the current harvester can do? Just so we can kind of, if say that the 4 feet is what this new harvester could reach and then potentially pull from, are we getting, how low are we actually cutting some of the weeds?
Yeah, I'd have to go probably.
Thought that was 4 to 6 feet too.
Okay, so it's not hugely different. Okay.
I might have that.
Now, in theory, as the year progressed, let's say you get this new harvester, it starts pulling weeds out in April or May, and it's
Harvester,
effective.
real quick, 9-foot cutting width, 5.5-foot depth.
Okay, so it's a little deeper.
Yep. 3 cutting bars, 2 vertical, 1 horizontal, 2.9 foot wide.
So saying that it does start to pull weeds out, as the year progresses, you would think, assuming based on what this lady told you as well, the testimony from her, there would be less weeds to have to pull by August.
Yeah, that's part of the calculation that I
So,
had.
okay.
It's like, what is that? Is it 30% less?
Right.
weeds? So I didn't know. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like that lady said, some of them never came back for 4 years, right? So one of the unknowns in my calculation, I basically bounded that. I tried
Right.
to say, throw a dart.
Okay.
But yeah, it reduced in the calculation for this harvester, it took into account the potential reduction of weed growth you'd have in general.
Sure.
I said 30%.
Okay.
I said, if we can reduce the weed growth by 30%, that would scale down the labor cost as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
'Cause you wouldn't have to be out there all the time. You're
Right.
not mowing your lawn every week, right? This thing, and based on her
Mm-hmm.
feedback, I felt 30% is pretty conservative based on the conversation I had with her.
And we do, of course, exclusive chemical treatment in the canals,
Yeah,
beyond the bridge. So those would be a different thing. Have we increased chemical treatments as in the past few years, or is it about the same?
basically the cost of inflation.
Just the
overall.
cost of chemicals themselves as opposed to,
Yeah, we've changed what we're doing. We use
Right.
different ones. We kind of do this late application of copper before
Right.
May. Like,
Yeah.
we've adjusted, but generically not more.
okay,
We might have more algae treatments in general. 'Cause
right.
people complain about it more.
Yeah.
But the overall has not changed significantly.
Okay. But we know they're not going to get cheaper.
No,
Treat.
no. It's basically the price of the chemicals have
Mhm.
gone up,
Yeah.
but not what we're actually using.
If everything were a go, do you know what the lead time is between purchase and delivery?
We have not gone that far. Right now, we're just trying to figure out if it's even, right now, we're like, is Michigan going to allow us to even use this thing? I would, we don't have it in the budget. Like, if we go through and we work with Eagle and they say, yeah, this is a go, this is something we'd be talking about, trying to figure out when in the budget can we find $110,000 to even pursue it, right? So we didn't go too far with like
I would think so.
all of that.
So there are certain weeds we can't cut
Mm-hmm.
because if you cut them, they spread.
This actually was originally developed for Eurasian milfoil to pull it out
Right.
so that you don't cut it. It was
So-
the actual first use case for this.
Okay. So that's what I was just going to
That's
ask.
why
Like, would
it's-
that be the difference? Could we actually then pull those weeds that we couldn't cut before,
That's why it was created.
which would allow for the harvester to go into more places?
And it
that
would
couldn't
reduce
before?
chemicals
Okay.
on those particular weeds because they're
Right.
exclusively chemical treated.
Yeah,
That's literally the use case that caused this thing to be invented.
and that's an invasive species as well, so, yeah. Okay,
Yep.
great.
Yeah, so in the thing, I let it swing between 20 and 40% weed reduction. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it could be 50, it could be 10,
Right.
but I just kind of threw a dart. We probably could see 20%. I would, that's a number I would believe in. So that's the balance that I put in. I put 10 to 20% chemical reduction, overall weed growth and how often. I said between 20 and 40%. I'm pretty 90% sure it could fall in that region. So that's where that came out of.
Now, not all weeds are bad for a lake. So I'm assuming that's going to be one of those areas of contention with Eagle to keep everything healthy within it.
Yeah, but I still think that we would reference in that instance, I mean, we get our harvesting maps from
Right.
Progressive,
Yeah.
right?
And so they document, this is where we don't cut, this is where we cut
Yeah.
currently.
I mean,
The
we
same
do-
concept would be applied, but with pulling.
I would also think that once you start taking milfoil out,
Better
you're going to
stuff
allow
will- yeah.
natural
Yeah.
weeds to then go into those areas where they weren't able to do
It's just
before.
like today.
Like removing
we'll
a
go
predator.
harvest
Exactly.
lily pads, right?
Yeah.
So I think we would still lean into the fact that we've got a professional company guiding
Right.
and what we do.
Yeah.
It's not like we're going to go out there and try and make it a pool.
Also, too, I'm not sure about this, but when you put chemicals in the lake and you cause the weeds to die, that sediment goes
Yep.
down to the bottom of the lake, which
Turns
causes
into muck.
muck. Yeah, so if we pull them,
Yep.
you're not, you're helping that
Yep,
situation.
yep. And I would argue that same thing for the harvester today, right? It's the same argument when we try and maximize the harvester usage as much as we can today. It's, you are removing it from the lake. This is better, right? It's just, you're just cutting the top off of it, and then the roots are there, it's just gonna grow right back, right? You're just mowing your grass, right? Where this is trying to rip the grass out. So, I mean, we've been increasing the harvester usage quite a bit over the last couple of years. I think we've had pretty good results with that. So this is kind of like next step in that. Okay, that's what I had.
Is there a fee for the permitting, the application for it?
Yep, there will be, but I think those are relatively cheap compared to the $3,000 Progressive is asking to help us with it.
Do you have any idea what the cost of the pre-permitting would be?
$3,600.
Yeah, I think there's $150.
I want to say the pre-application is a couple $100.
Yeah.
So,
Then I guess I'd be comfortable making a motion that we direct the administrator to work with the water board to do the pre-application. Try to get a meeting set up. That way we can at least figure out, are we, way away from Eagle agreeing to it, or maybe some things we could get in the ballpark of?
I think we would still want Progressive on board to help us, even if we're only talking about a pre-application meeting.
Okay,
So,
so then that would be the 3,000?
the 3,600, yes.
3,600, so
Yes.
then.
And I think we could probably approve that to not to exceed, and like, I don't think we got to have to cut them a check for $3,600 up front, or what, we probably can work that with them. I don't know what that estimate was, but I think they gave us $3,600 for the full thing, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, then I'd make a motion that we, again, start with the pre-application first.
Yep.
Before we go further, 3,600 not to exceed. I'm fine with that.
I'd second that.
So we have a motion, 3,600 not to exceed with the pre-application meeting.
Yep.
By Duffman, second by Newman. Any discussion with that?
No, don't,
Oh, 100%.
Any discussion?
I was going to mention to Ryan and the board, you should see if the person who is selling the harvester would be willing to be on that call with Eagle. Not only do they have a lot more information that they could provide that Eagle might have questions during the pre-application meeting, but a lot of times they will actually help sell it. When I've had these meetings for pretreatment wastewater systems, I often have the distributor on the phone as well because it helps kind of get more information out there for them to know from the get-go. And often suppliers will do that.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, and that's part of some of the conversation that Jerry and I had, because we didn't see it as our responsibility to sell this. If anybody's going to try to sell it, it should be the person that's manufacturing or selling it. So, yeah, I agree.
He's definitely, I mean, the person, the company that's selling it is obviously a believer in the thing. They also stand to make money. But They say nothing but good things, and the only other person that I actually talked to that has one was very, very positive about it.
Well, I think you've done your homework really well. All right, so we have a motion and a second, not to exceed 3,600 for Progressive with the pre-application meeting first. Any other discussions? A roll call, please.
Sneaky?
Yes.
Claiborne?
Yes.
O'Brien? Jeremini?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for all your work, and gentlemen, I'll follow up with Progressive tomorrow, so.
All right, brings us to 10D, recommendations, updates from engineering, Michelle.
It's been a busy meeting or a busy month in the village. We have been called on a few different calls. It's been a high precipitation year, so we've gotten some calls regarding some drainage situations, which Mike's actually been around the village meeting with some people, trying to figure out some fixes, some easy, less costly fixes. He's been in touch with David on those things. Those are always ongoing. We have many grinder pump installations going on, same because of the precipitation. Older systems tend to be closer to the water table. Water table raises, grinder pumps are being necessary. So we're seeing a lot of new calls for grinder pumps. Between that and then updating the budget plan and going through and checking out the roads for this coming year when we've got another road plan going on, we've been staying very busy. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Thank you. Number 11, don't believe we have any public hearings.
None tonight, thank you.
We still have new business. Parks and Rec recommending that we release $100 for the dog show supplies.
Motion as presented.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Aren't the dogs worth more? Any discussion on that? Have a roll call.
Newman?
Yes.
Sneaky?
Yes.
Claiborne?
Yes.
O'Brien? Duff?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
B, Beautification Committee, a request that we release $1,500 to purchase soil, compost for signs, as well as shrubs for a new bed at Clear Mellon Park.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? A roll call.
Jeremini?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
O'Brien? Claiborne?
Yes.
Sneaky?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
This means 12C, it's a request for consent to change of control for priority waste. I think,
Motion to approve as presented.
we have a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? A roll call on that, please.
McNutt?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
O'Brien? Claiborne?
No.
Sneaky?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
That brings us to 12D, agreement for IT services between Oakland County and the Village of Wolverine Lake.
Motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve as presented. By Duff.
Second.
And a second by Newman. Any discussion? Looks like they're going to be, Clemens is going to be a separate. All right, Cam's in the data center services, right?
Yeah, we currently have a written agreement for IT services with the county. This is really an update on that agreement because there are two of the services that the county has been providing historically. One is the pictometry, which they no longer offer, and the second is Clemis, which the next agenda item is being peeled out of the county into an independent agency. So this is really just to update and clarify what the county is currently providing and what they will continue to provide for the next 5 years.
We have a motion and a second. We have a roll call.
Claiborne,
Yes.
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 Jermaine,
Yes.
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 That brings us 12E, that's the approval of participation in Clemis Authority interlocal agreement.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Duff, approve as presented, a second by Newman. Any discussion? There's going to be a separate fee for that.
There will be a fee, yes. Yeah, and there'll be
I know what that is.
a separate document that will come to the department from Clemis that'll detail fees and things like that, and it's based upon the number of officers we have and things like that, so. If you have any questions about the background here, I think Chief Sovic is more familiar than I am. Again, if you have questions, so.
We have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Roll call, please.
Yeah. Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Kuznicki,
Yes.
Claiborne,
Yes.
Is F, the CDBG program years for 27 through 2029.
Motion to accept as presented. Second.
We have a motion to accept as presented by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion?
I just had a quick question. Do we have any examples? I don't know that I was a part of the 2024 program of different projects that this grant has helped to fund in the village.
The last few years, we've been allocating our CDBG funding equally between support for Haven and the county's housing assistance program. Prior to that time, we had attempted to allocate part of the funding to support Leah. Instead of the village supporting Leah directly, we attempted to use our CDBG funds in lieu of a direct contribution by the village itself. But the problem we ran into with Leah was that the level of information that the federal government requires under the CDBG, I don't know why I can't say that, the block grant program, is much more detailed than what Leah compiles. So Leah wasn't able to actually provide that. So again, we had tried to use it for Leah in the past. We're not trying to do that anymore. Before my time here, actually, the village had made the commitment to use block grant funding to make the bathrooms down here barrier-free. And then again, we ran into a similar problem because the contractor that came in and did the work was more than happy to do the job and to send us a bill. But in terms of providing all the background information the federal government required in terms of bidding and minority hiring and things like that, they were unable to provide that, so we had to reallocate funding. So, I mean, we will continue to make a decision every year as to how we want to use our block grant funds. So if we want to continue to use them for Haven and the housing assistance, housing rehab program, we can do that. If council wants to decide in any given year that you want to go in a different direction, we can do that, or at least try to do that as well. We're not locking into what we use the money for. This is just a commitment to continue to participate in the program.
Thank you.
And in that motion, it's automatic renewals, right, for 3-year successions.
But the county has still asked that we
do it.
We do it every 3 years anyway, just to be clear. Again, they're trying to satisfy the requirements of the federal government, so.
I get a roll call on that, please.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Kuznicki,
Yes.
Claiborne,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
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 All right. Item G, approval of Lake Area Youth Assistance volunteer members.
Motion to accept as presented.
Motion to accept as presented by Duff.
Second.
Second by Jeremini. Any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, volunteers. Item H, this is 1801 Shanken Drive. And if there's, I'm just going to, right now, before I get into discussion with it, if there's any votes or anything else, I'm going to remove myself from voting as a professional relationship with the homeowners.
So you would recuse yourself before any discussion?
Okay, I recuse myself.
Yeah, and then you
This time.
just need a motion to allow him to recuse himself.
I'll make a motion to allow President to recuse himself of the vote.
All right, motion by Duff, second by Newman, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, guys.
Council, if I could, I'd like to just provide a real brief update on this matter. I think everybody's very familiar with the property and what's going on over there. We have continued to work with the homeowner over the last few weeks to keep this matter moving forward. We actually do have now a site plan for a reduction of the patio that's been built on the lake side of the property that meets zoning ordinance requirements. In addition, as part of that site plan, it was referred over to Powell Engineering, and the engineers have completed their review, and subject to some conversation that cleared up a couple issues with the architect on the project. Powell has also signed off on the stormwater aspect of this. So we have an approved plan to bring things into compliance over there with existing zoning ordinance requirements. In addition, as I indicated in my memo, along with all the work that was done outside of the home, there was also other work that was done on the home itself that was done without permits. Windows and some siding. I believe there may be a hot tub on the patio, and I don't believe any permits were pulled from that. There may be some kind of a gas stove or something out there, a built-in stove, and I don't think permits were pulled for that. So our building inspector, or building official Craig Strong, and our building inspector, Chris Brinkmeyer, went over there yesterday afternoon, and they met with the homeowner and the homeowner's design professionals to get a handle on exactly what was done without permits above and beyond the actual patio structure itself. So the conversation that Craig and I had is, based upon that, he had to leave directly after that to go to another appointment for another client. But by the end of the week, he is planning to have a list, a comprehensive list of all of the permits that the homeowner will need to pull in order to be able to do work to bring the property into compliance. Along with that, based upon the number and the type of permits, I had asked Craig to come up with a deadline as to what's a reasonable time frame for the homeowner to come in and make application and obtain all those permits. So, again, we are getting a reasonable amount of cooperation from the homeowner at this point in time. When I say we, Craig and I, what we are proposing to do at this point in time is to provide that comprehensive list to the homeowner as soon as Craig gets it developed with a deadline, with the understanding that if they come in and pay all the fees and pull all the permits, then work over on the property on all that work can proceed as it normally would with a more normal building permit process. However, if the homeowner chooses not to come in and pay for and pull all of the permits that are going to be necessary on the project, that's when I would like to have the ability to have the village attorney go out to circuit court and file the necessary civil action. I don't want to have to come back to council again. I don't want there to be any additional delay. We've been sitting on this property for a long time. As I indicated in the memo, I think we've been more than generous in trying to work with the homeowner we're at a point now where realistically, we could have permits issued very soon, and work could be proceeding over the summer, and then hopefully even be done by the end of the summer or early fall. That would be the ideal scenario as far as I'm concerned. So what I'm asking for is authorization for the village attorney to file a civil action against the homeowners, if necessary, to bring the property into compliance with all ordinances. As to who would make that determination as to when to pull the trigger, I think that would be the village attorney and I who would make that decision based upon the information we were getting from our building official.
So moved.
Second.
Dave, will there be deadlines given to the homeowner to complete the work, or is it just to obtain the permits?
Craig and I talked about that. In Michigan, when you get a building permit is good for 6 years. 6 months, I'm sorry, 6 months.
Okay.
The building official has the discretion to extend a permit above and beyond the 6 month if they feel that there's been satisfactory progress made under the permit. So the deadline that would be given to the homeowner would be 6 months. And then after that, whether there would be any additional time, that would be up to Craig based upon what he was seeing at that point in time.
Thank you.
I just have a question. If a homeowner is numerous times has proceeded to do something on numerous items without a permit, is there any kind of fee, if you will, for being non-compliant? Like a penalty?
Under the fee structure that we currently have in a building department, no. That's another thing that Craig has been working on. He and I had a long conversation about that yesterday. We are hoping to have an updated fee schedule that we can bring to council next month for council to potentially approve. If council's able to approve the updated fee schedule next month, those new fees would be effective as of July 1 with the start of the new fiscal year. One of the things that he and I had discussed that he had recommended, and I am fully supportive of, if there is work that's done without a permit, when the individual comes in to apply for a permit, the fee would be double based upon the fact that there was already work done without a permit. So there isn't a basis for us to say, we're not going to give you a permit because you started without it. If the plans that are submitted meet the requirements of the building code, we have to issue the permit. We can charge an additional fee to cover the additional time and effort that's going to be required by our inspectors and our building official in terms of figuring out what was done and whether or not what was done without permits meets code requirements and that's and things like that. So at this point, no, there is no penalty, but we're working to change that.
Just curious.
Good question.
Dave, last question for me. Were the homeowners notified that this was a topic of discussion for tonight?
I talked with Craig about this yesterday morning before he went out there, and I told him or asked him to let the homeowner know that this was going to be discussed at tonight's meeting. And I indicated that if the homeowner didn't believe it, they could look at the agenda. And if they drilled down into the agenda packet, they could even see the memo that I had presented to council. So whether or not Craig actually had that conversation with him, I don't know, but I assume that he did.
Thank you.
Oh, and I believe that in the conversations that Mike Powell had with the architect about the stormwater, because there were some modifications that had to be made to the plan to satisfy the requirement or stormwater requirements. I believe Mike had explained to the architect working on the project that the village administrator was ready to pull the trigger and they needed to get this done quickly. So, yeah, I believe the homeowner and his professionals, I think, are aware that this is a priority issue for the village, yes.
So we have a motion and a second to direct administrator. Attorney.
If needed.
If needed, right? If needed. Okay. Have a roll call, please.
Wozniacki,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Wooden,
Yes.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. It's been out there a long time. Set topics for the May 27th to 2026 work session. Looks like our budget.
Jennifer passed out the latest greatest draft of the budget. Jennifer, I don't know if you've got anything you want to add or say right now?
Just that, one thing I'd like to bring to your attention is, it says proposed budget, May 13th, 2026, on the cover. Oftentimes, we go through some changes with the budget, and so as that happens, and if I have to reprint your budget, then I'll put revised and then the date of the revision, so you'll always know which is your most recent budget. A couple things to note is Dave and I have been having meetings with BSNA, and we're meeting with Commerce Township, so we're going to be bringing some information to you about that, and it's a pretty significant expense for us to switch our accounting software. And so that is in here. It's listed as $65,000. So if you're wondering what that is, when you're going through your budget, that's what that is. And we're going to be moving from the .NET platform to the .cloud platform, and we're pretty much at the many communities have already made the switch, the transition. It's been hard. It's been getting easier and easier. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to be doing it. We're going to have to do it. Pretty soon, BSNA at a certain point in time won't be servicing the .NET anymore. So, when I was at my conference this week, I was able to gather up some good information on that. So just that's one thing to be aware of that's in there that might stick out a little bit. And another thing that might stick out to you a little bit is in the road funding, in the two road funds is the previous year, putting money in from the previous year. We budgeted substantially for this year and last year, knowing that we weren't going to use it because we've decided we would wait 3 years to do our next roads. So there's a pretty substantial amount for the previous year surplus. And it's coming from their own funds. And there's nothing, right now in the budget, we don't have anything coming from the general fund into the road funds. We don't have anything, we don't need to at this point from the information we have so far. So, and that's a good thing. Our state shared revenue for sales tax, it's one of our big revenue items, has gone down pretty substantially. For a while, we were remaining flat. It's gone down. But our road funding has gone up substantially. So that's another reason. There's really no reason for the general fund to feed into those road funds. So just a few things that I want you to keep in mind when you're reading this. And I just want to let you know that our door is always open. If you have any questions on the budget, call me, come in. I'm always happy to spend however much time to so that it makes sense. Or if you notice something that's a mistake, call me, and I'm glad to fix it in advance. So it's not the most exciting reading in the world, but the other thing is it's double-sided. The printing is double-sided. If you find it difficult to read, I'm happy to print you one single-sided and get that over to you with your Friday memo or whatever. So I think that's all the points I wanted to make for tonight about the budget. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Welcome.
So then Wednesday, the 27th, 2 weeks from tonight, 7 o'clock, bring your budget hats. So.
Be ready. Hopefully we have any pending business?
None tonight, thank you.
All right. Second call to public.
Motion open?
Second.
We have a motion to open and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Second call to public is open.
For those that are listening, David Labor, 2335 Shaken, would you please compare a tape that ran last month with the administrator and then compare it today so we can see what kind of information was given last week. This is the subdivision, and this is the deed. The deed says lot owners and occupants, except the case of lakefront lots, shall in common with other lots owners in the subdivision have the use of two partials designated on the plat as said subdivision parks for the purpose of foot traffic to and from the lake. So in other words, they had a foot traffic there. You can't take a car, you can't take a go-kart, it's foot traffic. That's what they said. The other thing is, not more than one boat on each lot shall be maintained, which that's what they wanted. Used at the shore of said park. Does anybody know what the shore of said park is? If you don't, I'll tell you in a second. Each lot owner shall assume responsibility for the proper maintenance and care of the park. The key takeaways for this one is who can use the park? All the owners and occupants except the lakefront owners. The purpose is to walk to and from the lake. Boats, limit one boat per lot kept at the park's shore. Upkeeping, everyone is equally responsible to maintain and care for that. The next phase, I'm going to describe to you, at that time in 1941, why they put those information in there. Dry storage, dry land storage. You have the right to keep your boat on a park's dry ground, the shore. This often interpreted by Michigan courts as pulling the boat up into the grass and sand of the park's partial. That's a state law. Excluding activities, because of the park is non-riparian, you typically cannot install a dock without riparian rights. You cannot permanently attach structures to the lake bottom. Anchoring permanently, you generally cannot leave your boat moored at the water overnight for the season. Then the keyhole ordinance, we did a lot of work on that keyhole ordinance. The planning board, the management board, the council, the lawyer, and all of a sudden I'm finding out between our lawyer and the administrators telling us they can keep their boats there because they have one boat. I just read you where that boat is going to be docked, and that's going to be docked on shoreline. The keyhole ordinance, use of waterfront property for purpose of providing access to the body of water for non-riparian property shall not be permitted in any zoning district. Those people do not belong there. Now, here's what's going on with the village. Ever since the virus, boat sales, motorhome sales went right through the roof. Here's the park over there at the end of, by Shaken, across that, but anyhow, here's a year later. This is 2000, excuse me, 5 years later. 2000, right after we passed the ordinance concerning keyhole ordinance, there weren't any boats parked there. Look what's going on today without permits or anything. Here's Another situation, look how many boats they have here. You see them? How many do they have now? These are the ones they're talking about that do not have any rights. Now, you might say, David, why are you so compassionate about having the parks look so important to our village? This is what I look every day from my deck when we eat lunch or breakfast or dinner. Beautiful, isn't it? This is what, if I look the other way, this is what I look. We gotta get these parks cleaned up, and that's the law. And I had some good advice from doing this from people, and I strongly recommend you folks. Because that's gonna be one of the biggest topics when we do re-elections. Thank you for listening.
Motion to close.
Second. Motion to close in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Second call is closed. Council liaison reports. Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec has actually met twice since our last meeting. Our meeting in April, we talked about our various full summer schedule. Got our blood drive coming up on June 1st. There are still, I think, 4 spots available. It's already pretty filled up. And that will actually be starting half an hour earlier at 1:30 instead of the normal 2 o'clock. We have the spring garage sale, of course, coming up May 28th. Still time to get registered to get on the map in the village. 5K, May 23rd, so less than 2 weeks away. Still time to get signed up for that. I know there's already over 50 people registered, so that's going really well. Just approved the funding today for the dog show, June 20th, and the flyer is out for that as well. And then, of course, the farmers market will be starting next Tuesday, May 19th, from 4 to 8 p.m. Come on out. We will be having a ton of vendors, and True Pizza Kitchen will be out with a food truck. They have gluten-free pizza, tastes just as good as anything else, and they will be our first food truck of the year. And then on May 26th, we will be having Taco Tuesday with the Taco Hub food truck. So come on out, folks.
Mark, zoning board.
ZBA did not have a case last month. I believe there are 2 this month. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend.
Water management.
I just saw tonight too, there's a lot of conversation in the last meeting about the eco harvester, about getting everything together. We also were looking to request funds. We put together our budget for the year. One of the new things we added in there too was talking about getting a flat bottom boat, little John boat for like the goose nest, goose egg nest destruction. There's always an issue of trying to scramble at the last minute to get a little John boat to get into the shallow waters. Most of the time we take a pontoon out throughout the main lake, and then you have to hop on a small boat to actually get into the nest area. So we just looked at prices for that and see if it's in the budget. We talked more about fish habitats and plantings, kind of since, revisiting the conversation from a long time ago of the fish sticks. Is it a good viable idea? Will there be any benefit to our environment? Because we don't have as many breeding grounds or any places for fish. It's always weird. All of our shorelines are seawall, so they miss out on all those. So is it good idea to create an additional habitat for them to survive so we can get rid of our feeder fish issue and grow our population to larger sizes? I think the fishermen would like that. And of course, the boat cover recycling program has already been announced out of the village. We participate in that as well. And yeah, we obviously current lake levels were high as of last month and they're draining off, and you all know how that works. So good.
Keep going, planning.
Planning Commission, we no meeting last month.
Chief.
Alrighty, you see, most of you have seen that our boat is, it's in the water on the lift. Physically, we're ready to go. Officer Grumwell is going to be instructing 2 of our new Marine Patrol officers a couple hours this weekend just to kind of get them, get their feet wet. No pun intended, but hopefully not. See how we operate around here. So we're looking forward to that this weekend. Most of our snowbirds have returned home. We have a couple of stragglers still enjoying the warm weather wherever they're at. However, if you plan on being away this weekend or a week or sometime this summer, please drop off the vacation forms. It's one thing that separates us apart. We get out of our cars, we check your windows, your doors to make sure everything's secure, and if it's not, then we call you and let you know what we find. So we offer that service. Looking forward to that. And then also, you may have seen on our Facebook page, as well as the village Facebook page, about we're establishing some type of emergency contact list for people. We've already had a couple people email us and just let us know, hey, this is where I at. This is our situation. We've got a mental health situation in our place. You've been here before. We're looking for emergency contacts in case we can't get a hold of the homeowner for whatever reason, whether it's a property check or there's a medical response and we can't get in the house. We're looking for another contact that we can contact, or another contact that we can call to see if we can not break into your home, but just find another way in. And also, another lady today called me and said, listen, I'm elderly, I live by myself. I don't want you breaking the door down to get at me if something happens to me medically. Here's where my key is located. And she gave me specific directions as to where we can find it. And so we're going to establish this database and have it on our computers and the cars in case, so we can actually get to an ending point a lot sooner, and we'll provide dispatch and the fire department with the information. But if you don't have Facebook, then stop in the station and fill out a form, and we're establishing emergency contact database just to kind of provide better service to our people. So other than that, that's all I got for you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Treasurer Hanson.
I just completed today my number 2 of 3 advanced treasurer trainings. It was held in Midland, Michigan, and it was really good training. We have, they bring in, one of the things they bring in is they bring in some different legislative people, and so we get to hear like in depth all the bills that are being looked at and thought about, all the different things that are being proposed to put onto the ballots, what looks like they're going to have enough signatures, what doesn't, and there's a lot of different proposals out there. One of them, I'm sure you've all heard, X My Tax, is out there, and it's nobody really knows if that's gaining steam or not. It's not really feasible. The whole thing is not feasible. X My Tax. They're trying to get signatures. They've been working on it for more than a year now, and they're trying to get rid of property taxes, and they're looking at different ideas for giving, having seniors not pay property taxes. There's different proposals and different ideas they're putting out there. None of them so far seem to be that they're going to make it to the ballot. But, as it is for the Village of Wolverine Lake, we already have multiple people that don't pay taxes because they're veterans. And they've just revised that law so that their spouses now, if they pass away, their spouses get to have no tax, which is wonderful. It's a wonderful thing that they get to do that. But the community picks that up. It's Michigan kind of makes the rule saying, the state of Michigan makes rules saying we're going to do this for veterans, but we are saying, well, why don't you pay for it then instead of making our residents, pay the additional amounts? But it's it's not affecting our budget too badly. It's a great thing. I can tell you one of our veterans is definitely severely disabled, and we worked hard to get him to the point where he didn't have to pay, where he got his paperwork, because the very thing that made him disabled makes it hard for them to apply for those things and, and meet all the requirements. But that one person did, we got him there. And so these are just a lot of the different things I learned when I go to these things. We had a lot of AI training that was really good. There was some training that didn't necessarily apply to me, but that was still good to learn about. So it was a really great training, and thank you for allowing me to do that. I'm looking forward to our meeting in 2 weeks to talk about the budget, and I think that's just about it for me. No, I'll see you before Memorial Day. Never mind.
Mr. Gilman.
I think 3 points. First, I think everyone is aware that there's a boil water alert in place for the Penny Lake community, for Penny Lake Estates. Anybody who receives their water through the community well down there, the boil water alert is still in effect. Andy Stone from the DPW did additional testing today. I guess to back up for a second, after you get a positive result, there are 2 rounds of negative testing that's required before the boil water alert can be lifted. And Andy did 1 round of testing a couple days ago. All the testing that day came back negative for coliform bacteria. He did additional testing today, and the test results, the samples were taken over to the lab. He'll get the results back tomorrow. We're assuming that the results will be negative again. If the results are negative again, then we will be able to lift the boil water alert for Penny Lake. No way to know for sure, but we really do believe that this is related to all the work that was done over at the pump house within the last month or so. We are required with both of our community well systems to take multiple samples every month. And I know because Andy takes the samples, he takes the samples to the lab, he gets the test results back, he gives the test results to me, and I submit the test results to Eagle every month. And if we don't submit them to Eagle, Eagle's chasing us down wondering why we didn't submit them. So, and really the whole 5.5 years that I've been here for the community well systems, all the results are generally negative. So this was really an anomaly. We have had a couple positive test results over at Claire Miller Park in terms of the pump over there and the water system when we opened the system back up in the spring, but even that's just an occasional thing. So we were surprised to get the positive result over at Penny Lake, but we've been dealing with it. Again, Andy was able to isolate through the testing one area of the system where he believes the problem was. He removed the parts, he chlorinated the parts, he put them back in place. As I indicated, we had a negative result the other day. We're anticipating a negative result from the test today. So we should be good to go tomorrow. As soon as we get results back, we will let all the residents know in the same fashion we did before. We'll send out an email, we'll put something on the village Facebook page, we'll put something on the village website, and we'll also mail notice first class to everybody. Those notices would go out on Friday. We're confident that things will be back to normal by the end of the week over at Penny Lake. So, second, I was on the phone and traded emails today with Carmine Marshall, our Eagle Scout, and his mother. They're planning to start work on the community garden over near the Veterans Memorial on Saturday morning. So they're going to be working this weekend, and then as needed, working over the Memorial Day weekend. But hopefully the community garden will be up and running by the end of the month as well. So finally, I traded some emails today with the artists that will be doing the work over at the concession building at Claire Miller Park. We're expecting, as long as we don't have any other water problems or sewer line breaks or anything like that this week, that the power washing of the concession building will be done this week. I've let the artist know that he can plan on starting work on the mural next week. So everybody's excited about that. And with any luck, we may have that done by the end of the month as well. So that's all I have. And to pick up on what Jennifer said, actually, no, we will be meeting again after Memorial Day.
Oh, okay.
So we can say Happy Memorial Day to
Happy
everybody.
Memorial Day.
So, yeah. Thank you.
Council comments. Start with Pam.
Oh, thank you. Just briefly, Aaron and I attended our monthly Leah meeting today, and the biggest thing that we probably did was there was a huge table of a variety of items that we put together in a bag, and we called them boredom buster bags.
Mm-hmm.
And they give them out to fourth graders of all the different Walled Lake school systems. You know,
Title I
it's kind of-
schools.
Title I schools. And I didn't do a a number, but because we ran out of some items, but I think there are probably at least 400 or close to 400 bags. My back is killing me. But there's a lot of really cool things in the bags, from books to chalk to pencils to markers to these little miniature easels with miniature boards that they can paint on, and paints and brushes and cards and a lot of nice things anyway, and a couple of games. So that, and I just wanted to say I'm happy to hear that there's continued good news to hear about Sergeant John Marosco. It's always good to keep hearing all those good messages. And then just congrats to Bonnie. And we'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
Congrats to Bonnie on her Citizens of the Year award, very well deserved. Thanks to Ryan Martini for his presentation. I thought it was very thought-provoking, and I look forward to hearing about next steps. I recently wrapped up my time in the class of 2026 Lakes Area Citizens Police Academy. As a final piece of the program, I completed a ride-along with Officer Dennis here in our village. I appreciated his time and candor as I took an even deeper dive into the daily duties of our officers. If you know Officer Dennis, the deeper dive statement works perfect for his love of scuba diving. The many interactions that our officers have with our residents is a big part of what makes our village so special. I learned a great deal about the academy, enjoyed meeting residents from neighboring communities, and I'm walking away with a deep sense of gratitude for the men and women who protect and serve our communities every day. Thank you as well to our village attorney, Jennifer Orlowski, for her time and support of our Onwards and Upwards board. We appreciate your expertise as you help guide us through these new chapters. Earlier this month, I attended the Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce's first Friday coffee held at our village hall. While we might be one of the smaller communities in the region, we have so much to celebrate and be proud of, including our village staff, our DPW team, our police department, and our parks. As Administrator Gillen mentioned, our Eagle Scout Carmine Marshall is kicking off his community garden project behind the Veterans Memorial at Clara Miller Park this coming weekend. Volunteers are needed on Saturday, May 16th from 1:30 until dark, and again on Sunday, May 17th from 9 a.m. until dark. My kids and I look forward to attending the 5th annual Bubble Run on Saturday, May 23rd, thanks to our Parks and Rec department for putting on these family fun events. Lastly, I am sending my well wishes to Sergeant Marosco for his continued healing.
Stay safe out there. God bless. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
June 6th is the Coxeter Classic Golf Outing and Banquet at Links of Novi, the biggest fireworks fundraiser of the year, hosted by Onwards and Upwards. There are still some spots available for golf and dinner and sponsorships. And of course, on June 13th is the annual Lake Rally Scavenger Hunt. Get out there, get on the lake, and have a great time following some very well-developed clues made by Deb Stewart. Again, the farmers market starts next Tuesday. Come out, visit some vendors, get some plants, get some pizza. And as you may have heard, Brett kind of alluded to, last night I was at the Commerce Township Board of Trustees meeting, and I was named as the newest member of the Parks and Recreation Board for them, serving as the Wolverine Lake liaison. So I look forward to working with the Commerce P&R and hopefully creating some new synergies and stealing some of their good ideas and bringing them here. And I hope everybody has an enjoyable Memorial Day.
Congratulations, Bonnie, on Citizen of the Year, and have a safe and happy Memorial Day.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.